The wind across Surreal's dunes blew like silk laced with heat. Each gust carried the scent of scorched minerals and dry, cracked stone, but Dorian Vex didn't mind. The desert planet was mostly quiet now, with only the occasional clicking call of a long-legged beetle echoing through the shimmering expanse. For once in a long damn while, there were no commands in his ear, no emergency pings from orbit, and no loudmouthed superior telling him where to shove his boots next. Just heat, solitude, and the promise of rest. He glanced around the sunken crater, satisfied it was still empty, and dropped his supply pack on the edge. The sand bath looked exactly like the mission doc had described. A bowl-shaped pit lined with soft, sparkling grains tinted gold and rose. Supposedly, the sands were alive with microreactions that rejuvenated skin, eased nerve pain, and supposedly vibrated with ancient planetary energy. Whatever that meant, Dorian didn't care about the science. He was tired, sore, and had a knife wound along his ribs that pulsed every time he twisted the wrong way. All he wanted was 20 minutes in this alien spa before heading back to base. He stripped down quickly, muttering as his fingers fumbled over the buckles of his dusty chest plate. The armor thunked onto the ground beside his boots. His undersuit followed. Then he stepped carefully into the pit, wincing at the heat until the warmth became a slow, delicious burn. "God damn," he exhaled, sinking to his waist, then shoulders until he was nearly buried, only his head and arms resting free. The sand wasn't loose. It clung, wrapped, almost massaged. Something about it buzzed faintly under his skin, like a low hum. And just when he was finally about to close his eyes, footsteps, crunching. He sat upright fast, a ripple of sand sloshing around his torso. She stepped into view like a waking dream or a nightmare. Tall, too tall, easily 8 feet, maybe more. Her silhouette shimmered against the sunlight, a cascade of platinum hair like molten glass swinging behind her back. Skin the color of pale moonstone glittered where it caught the light, and strange crystal markings wound down her arms, shifting faintly with every step. She wore nothing, not a shred, not even a royal sash or token jewelry. Just regal confidence and cool, narrowed eyes that locked onto his like she'd known him for years and already found him lacking. Dorian blinked. She stepped into the sand pit without a word. Not beside him, next to him, not even a full arm's length away. Then she lowered herself into the sand with the ease of someone slipping into familiar waters. "Hey, what the hell?" Dorian barked, pushing upright as modesty and confusion battled for dominance. "I was here first." "You are loud," she murmured, eyes closed, voice thick with a strange, royal accent. "That is unfortunate. I had hoped for silence." "You hoped? You just walked into my sand bath. There's a line or a sign-in sheet or some." "There are none," she interrupted calmly, still not looking at him. "This region is mine." He froze. "Yours? I am Princess Nyrelia T, first daughter of the Surreal high lineage. This basin lies within ancestral territory of my maternal line. You are occupying it." Dorian's mouth opened, then closed again. He looked around wildly for his translator chip's blinking diagnostic. Had it broken? Was this some weird, polite version of a death threat? "No offense, your crystalliness, but this spot was marked neutral in the planetary guide. For everyone. I'm part of an authorized recon team. This was in the map. Public zone." She finally opened her eyes. They were a pale, haunting silver with rings of blue and lavender that shifted like oil on water. "Your maps are incorrect." He stared at her, dumbfounded. "So you just barge into people's sand pits because of a claim your great-grandmother's grandmother maybe had?" "I did not barge. I joined. That is the custom." He made a strangled noise. "You don't join naked strangers in a hot sand pit." Nyrelia blinked slowly, like she genuinely didn't understand the problem. "Why not?" Dorian looked down, realizing he'd twisted partially sideways to shield himself, and was now half buried with his back turned to her like a schoolboy caught peeking into a changing room. His face burned, and not from the sun. She stretched out beside him, arms floating lazily above the sand. Her crystalline markings pulsed faintly. "Are all humans this squeamish?" she asked without mockery. "Are all your people this indifferent to personal space?" He shot back. "No, but I am a princess. I have earned the right." Dorian groaned into his hands. "You've got to be kidding me." Then the sand around them shifted. At first, he thought it was just a breeze. Then he felt it. A low thrum in his spine. A ripple under the grains. Like something ancient waking up just beneath the surface. Nyrelia sat up a little, her brows furrowed. "You were not lying," she said, voice softer now. "You are not one of my people." "Nope," Dorian muttered, already preparing to scramble out. "It may be too late to withdraw," she said. "What?" "The bath is active," she murmured. "We've begun resonance." "Reso what?" She turned to him, eyes unreadable. "You've bonded with the sand while touching another." "Me? It's begun sinking." "Sinking what?" "Our biofields," she said matter-of-factly. Dorian made a noise not unlike a dying animal. "This is why I don't take vacations." She tilted her head. "You consider this leisure?" He squinted at her. "Don't you?" "No," she said simply. "I consider this a test." The sand shifted again beneath him, warmer now, glowing faintly where their bodies touched the surface. A line of pink-gold light connected their submerged limbs through the sand. Dorian stilled. "You're joking." Nyrelia gave him a small, knowing smile. "I never joke. I am a princess." The silence stretched for a moment too long. "Of course you are," Dorian muttered, lying back in the sand with a sigh. "Next time I want to relax. I'm booking a room on a lava moon." She said nothing, but when the next gust of wind swept across the sand pit, she didn't move away. Neither did he. The sky above the surreal desert shifted from harsh, unrelenting gold to a softer, copper-streaked mauve as the twin suns began their slow descent. The heat mellowed into a cozy warmth, and the dunes cast long shadows across the basin. Dorian Vex remained half-buried in the sand pit, unsure whether he should laugh, curse, or simply resign himself to the absurdity of the day. Beside him, Princess Nyrelia T sat serenely, her posture too elegant for someone practically lounging in dirt. The light caught in her crystalline markings again, but this time Dorian noticed something else. Small pulses, as if they glowed in rhythm with his own heartbeat. "So," he ventured after a long silence, "what exactly does a biofield sink do?" She glanced at him without turning her head. "Nothing yet. The sands merely observe." He stared. "Observe what?" "Compatibility, intent, energy resonance, physical responses." He raised both brows. "You mean they're judging us?" "Not judging," she corrected gently. Learning. The desert is alive in its way. It remembers what it sees. "Great," he muttered. "The psychic sand is spying on me." She tilted her head, amused. "You are dramatic for a soldier." "I'm dramatic because I woke up thinking I'd get a tan and maybe a nap, not end up soul-linking with a naked alien princess who thinks personal space is optional." Nyrelia gave him a look that might have been mild disapproval or faint amusement. "You complain often, and you talk like you're quoting a sacred text." "I am a sacred text," she said, so seriously that he blinked. Then, after a long pause, she added softly, "That was a jest." A beat of silence. Then he snorted. It caught them both off guard, his short, involuntary laugh. Her eyes widened slightly as if she hadn't expected humor from a human. But he couldn't help it. Something about her cool, imperious tone mixed with her utterly alien innocence made everything funnier. "Okay, that was not bad," he admitted. "You've got some comedy bones hidden under all that crystal and attitude." She seemed to consider this. "I do not possess bones as you know them." He chuckled again, then leaned back on his elbows. The sand hummed softly beneath his skin, matching his pulse. Figures. They sat like that for a while, not speaking, just letting the desert settle into twilight around them. Then a shrill shriek pierced the stillness. Not human. Not even close. Dorian sat upright. That wasn't wind. Nyrelia rose in a single, fluid motion. No, it was a scout beast. From the caverns. He frowned. Those are supposed to be extinct. They are, she said calmly. Unless someone has disturbed the underlayer. Before he could ask what that meant, the sand rippled again. Asterisk violently asterisk this time, and a long, spiny tail shot from the basin's edge like a whip. Dorian rolled instinctively, dragging Nyrelia down with him as a massive claw raked the space where she'd been standing. A creature burst from the dune like an explosion of teeth and scale. Long, eel-like, with jagged limbs and a chitinous hide that shimmered under the moonlight. Its multiple eyes glowed blue, and its breath came in steaming gasps. Dorian didn't wait. He reached for his pack, only to realize it was still on the other side of the pit. Nyrelia rose beside him, utterly calm, eyes glowing brighter now. She extended a hand, and from her palm emerged a shard of solid light, crystalline, jagged, and deadly sharp. "Stay behind me," she said. "Oh no," Dorian growled, ducking under the creature's swing. "I hate that line." He darted forward, snatching up a stone the size of his fist. The creature turned toward him, mandibles clicking. Dorian hurled the rock with all his strength, hitting it square in the eye. The creature screeched and reeled, giving Nyrelia the perfect opening. She leapt, twisting in midair, and drove her light blade down between the beast's upper plates. A flash of light burst from the impact, sending a shockwave through the sand. The creature thrashed, then collapsed with a hiss, twitching once before falling still. Breathing heavily, Dorian bent over his knees. "Remind me never to underestimate royalty." Nyrelia turned to him, face impassive but eyes brighter now. "You did not flee," he shrugged. "Couldn't let a princess outdo me in my own sand bath." That earned him a strange look. Then, to his shock, she extended her hand. "Stand." He took it, half expecting some spark or pulse, but instead felt a surprising strength in her grip. She pulled him to his feet. As they walked back to the center of the basin, the sand closed gently over the fallen creature, swallowing it without a trace. "The sands remember everything," she said again, more softly now. "Even this." "Yes, especially this." Night fully settled in, bringing stars sharper than any Earth sky. Dorian found himself spreading his emergency blanket over the edge of the basin while Nyrelia, apparently unconcerned with human modesty, reclined beside him once more. "You know," he said after a pause, "this would have been a lot less weird if we just met at a diplomatic mixer or something." "I dislike mixers," she replied. He nodded. "Yeah, I kind of figured." Then, hesitantly, he asked, "You ever bathe like this with someone else before?" Her answer was immediate. "Never." That made his throat dry. "Does that mean something in your culture?" She turned her head, meeting his eyes. "Everything means something." He didn't know what to say to that. Not really. But when her shoulder brushed his slightly beneath the blanket, he didn't move away. Neither did she. The fire crackled quietly, casting long shadows over the hollow where they had taken shelter for the night. The basin had become dangerous after the first attack. More scout beasts stirred beneath the sands, and Nyrelia had declared the area unstable. So they climbed higher, toward the edge of the canyon cliffs, where stone replaced sand and the winds whispered more than howled. Dorian sat with his back to a ridge, arms folded, watching the princess from across the fire. She was seated with her legs folded beneath her, eyes closed, palms resting on her knees. Meditating, probably. Again, he couldn't stop replaying the attack in his mind. Not the creature, but what came after. The way she'd stood between him and danger without hesitation. The way she'd looked at him, and the way his chest had stirred. Not from fear, but something far more confusing. But confusion wasn't new. Not when it came to her. "You haven't asked," Nyrelia said without opening her eyes. He blinked. "Asked what?" "Why I am here, alone, unattended, on a sacred desert pilgrimage." He snorted, Figured you'd tell me when you were ready. She opened her eyes. There was something tired in them now. Something real. I was not supposed to be alone. Dorian waited. I was betrothed, she said, voice flat, to the heir of House Zelvari. A political alignment, as is tradition. Our bond ceremony was to take place during the trifold eclipse. I fled 2 days before it. His heart did a slow, stupid twist. You ran from an arranged marriage. Yes, I did. She met his gaze evenly. Because I could not bear the idea of surrendering my body, my bloodline, my mind, to someone who only saw my title. You wanted someone who saw you. Her expression didn't shift, but her eyes softened. Yes, Dorian let that hang between them. So, you came to the sands? It is the ancient right of my lineage. One may seek solitude and truth in the desert if they reject a bond. It is a dangerous choice, rarely taken. He rubbed the back of his neck. So that's why your people are looking for you. They will not stop until they find me. To them, I am not a woman. I am a symbol, and symbols do not get to choose. That hit too close to home. He looked away. A breeze rolled through, lifting some of the ash. When he turned back to her, she was watching him. Why did you come to this world, Dorian? He blinked. You first name me now? You never told me your last. He smirked, but the question lingered. He sighed. I needed out. I'd done my duty. Lost too many friends. Got promoted for things I wish I hadn't done. And Earth started feeling tight. Like I was shrinking every day. You sought space, she said, quiet. Yeah, space to breathe. To matter without orders attached. They were quiet for a long time. Then she said, we are both runaways. That made him laugh, but it didn't feel joyful. Guess that makes us cosmic misfits. She moved toward him, slow and deliberate. Sat beside him, not touching, but close enough that he could feel her body heat through the fabric between them. Then she whispered, I felt it when the sands synced our resonance. He turned to her. I thought it was a lie. My people believe in destined energy convergence. I thought it's superstition, until I felt yours. Unclouded. Wild. True. He swallowed. You're saying you think we're meant to be bonded? I do not know what we are meant to be, she said, voice tight. But I know what I want. He reached out, touched her hand. It was warm, softer than he'd expected. Then say it. She looked at him, and her expression cracked. All the pride, all the distance, melted into something raw. Human, almost. I want to choose, she said. For once in my life, I want to choose something that is not tradition or duty or diplomacy. I want you. The firelight danced across her crystalline markings. But then, a mechanical whine split the night. Searchlights flared to life overhead, scanning across the canyon. Voices shouted in guttural airy cage. Nyrelia stiffened. They found me. Dorian sprang to his feet. That fast. I broke a seal when I used the blade. A signature artifact. It would have alerted them. From the cliffs above, hovercrafts descended, sleek black vessels bearing the silver insignia of House Zelvari. Dozens of guards disembarked, weapons raised. One of them barked a command. Princess Nyrelia T of the 7th lineage. By right of the court accord, you are to return at once. She stood tall. I refuse the bond. You no longer have that right. Another guard advanced, this one different. Taller, clad in ceremonial armor, face half hidden behind a latticework of gold. Dorian stepped forward. Hey, hold on. She's not going anywhere if she doesn't want. Silence, human, the armored one barked. He advanced on Dorian. Nyrelia moved faster. She stepped between them, palm glowing with summoned crystal. You will not harm him, the armored figure sneered. You disgrace your house for this, animal? Dorian bristled. Try me, Goldface. But the figure raised a hand, and a beam of energy burst from his gauntlet. Nyrelia turned, threw her arms wide, and took the full blast meant for Dorian. The shock sent her flying backward. She hit the stone hard, crystal shattering across her skin like breaking glass. Nyrelia! Dorian ran to her, cradling her as her eyes fluttered open, dazed, bleeding from between the fractures in her markings. "I'm sorry," she gasped. "I couldn't let them." "Don't you dare talk like it's over," he said, voice cracking. "You're not done." The guards approached. He drew the blade she'd used before, still humming faintly, and raised it. "Stay back." The lead guard paused. "You would fight us all?" He glanced down at her face and nodded. "For her? Absolutely." The desert wind stirred around him. The same sand that once observed now responded, glowing faintly beneath his feet. And though outnumbered, he stood, blade in hand, between the fallen princess and the warriors of her own people. Because this time he wasn't running, and neither was she. Dorian stood still, knees bent slightly, one foot forward in the sand, body poised between tension and instinct, as the low whir of alien hovercrafts thrummed in his ears. Nirelia's weight shifted slightly in his arms, her breath shallow against his shoulder. The desert around them had gone quiet again, like it was watching. And then, the lead warrior, gold-masked, still bristling with energy, spoke once more. "You are a fool," he spat. "You think one human with a stolen blade can stand against the will of an empire?" "I don't need to fight an empire," Dorian said, his voice low but steady. "Just need to protect her." The golden-masked warrior raised a hand again, but stopped. The sands beneath his feet rippled. Everyone froze. The sand glowed faintly, then pulsed. Once, then again, like a living heart. Small arcs of blue-white energy flickered between the particles. The very land was reacting to something. No, someone. Nirelia's breathing slowed. Her crystalline veins began to glow. The fractures along her body shifted, not closing entirely, but they restructured, curling around the wounds like living circuits. She opened her eyes, just barely. "Dorian," she whispered, "put me down." He hesitated. Trust me." He obeyed. She stepped forward, unsteady but tall. The soldiers backed away slightly as a soft wind began to circle her, lifting grains of sand that glittered as if touched by starlight. "I call upon the right of sovereign will," she said aloud, her voice gaining strength with every word. "By the laws of descent and descent, I claim the authority of reclamation." Gasps rippled through the gathered guards. Even the masked leader stepped back. "That right hasn't been invoked in generations," one muttered. "She's invoking royal challenge," another said. Nirelia stood straighter. "You call me disgrace, but I am the blood of the seers, and I will no longer be claimed by a bond one did not choose. Let it be recorded by witness and wind. I claim the right of my own path." Dorian blinked, watching the change ripple through her body. The light in her skin, the way her voice rang through the canyon like thunder in silk. And then she turned, held out a hand to him. "Dorian, do you accept the bond of choice, free and true?" He stared at her. "You're serious? Do you not want it?" He didn't even hesitate. He strode forward, took her hand in both of his. "I've never wanted anything more." The moment his fingers closed around hers, the sand around them exploded in light. It wasn't violent, it was radiant. The dunes glowed in arcs, forming a wide, circular pattern that stretched outward like a mandala. Dust lifted gently into the air, hanging like stars in a slow spiral. The guards shielded their eyes. Nirelia and Dorian were surrounded by it. Not trapped, *embrace star. Two figures inside a storm of stardust. And in that instant, something ancient activated. Not a machine, not a weapon, a witness, a resonance call. Every crystal embedded in the soldier's armor flickered and shifted. Some even cracked. One by one, they dropped to a knee. The golden-masked warrior was the last. He hesitated, trembled, but knelt. The wind died down. The dust settled. Dorian glanced around. What just happened? Nirelia leaned into him, spent but smiling. The sands recognized us. You weren't bluffing about the resonance. No. And now, it's official. He laughed, almost giddy from the rush. So what now? We ride off into the desert, get a quiet cottage on some distant moon. Her smile faded a little. Not sadness, just gravity. There will be consequences. The high courts will challenge this. I will lose the title of princess. My name may be erased from the crystal vaults. He looked at her. Are you okay with that? I already chose. He nodded. Then I'm with you. She rested her forehead against his. Then we begin again. They left the canyon together. The guards did not follow. Whispers traveled faster than ships, of the royal daughter who invoked the sovereign will, of the human whose resonance bound with hers, of the starlight storm that validated an unorthodox love. And though the political wheels spun, and many tried to downplay the event, others watched with interest. Not just nobles or soldiers, but others. Beings who had long waited to see if a bond formed by heart alone could awaken the oldest forces in the desert. Nyrelia and Dorian never returned to the capital. Instead, they disappeared along the rim of the shifting dunes, venturing deep into forgotten zones, living as travelers, ambassadors of another way. Sometimes they shared stories in neutral cities. Sometimes they simply were content in the sunlit moments between. But every so often they returned to the basin where they first met, where she stepped into a sand bath without asking, where he thought he was just alone, and where everything in the end had been worth it.